Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And you came all the way from South Carolina. Anyway, Admiral, I'm going to build on some questions that have already been begun by my colleague, Representative Ashford. But you talked about, or he was talking about, and you were responding, corporations in the private sector and academia. What are ways of just fostering this private-public partnership? If there's anything more you could add to that. Because I know there are folks in Colorado Springs that are very keen on this as well.
Yes, sir. So a couple of things come to mind. We've created an exercise series. You heard it in my remarks. The chair mentioned it. We call CyberGuard, where once a year we pick a problem set. We come up with an exercise scenario that crosses the nation so we can bring together entities from across the nation. We bring together private companies, state, local, and federal actors, Cyber Command and the Department of Defense, and we look at, as well as commercial infrastructure providers, for example, and we outline a problem set. We actually create a notional network that reflects, if we're modeling, for example, an attack against the power structure, we actually, in partnership with some of the power companies, we develop a network simulation that replicates the network associated with a large utility. We've done this in multiple areas. This exercise scenario occurs every June. We ask private companies, if you want to participate, we would love to have you. We're up to about 100 right now. We just started this in the last 3 years, and I can remember the first one we had about 3. It's getting to the point now where I'm starting to run into a capacity concern where we've got more interest than there's room. In addition, I'm also trying to, and I'm doing this more on the NSA side first, but the other area that I've tried to highlight potentially with the private sector is there a way to take some of our DoD workforce, have it spend some time in the private sector and then come back to us? Mm-hmm. And is there a way also to have the private sector spend some time with us? That hasn't been the traditional DoD model. It certainly hasn't been the traditional intelligence community model in my other job. But my view is that's kind of among the things that we got to do for the future. We got to view this as much more of a broader partnership. One of my takeaways is, this is just the ultimate team activity. I've never done so much private sector and interagency work in 35 years of military service.
Well, and academia as well.
Yes, sir. Which is why I was just up at Harvard on Thursday when I was up there. I've been to Carnegie Mellon, Berkeley, and Stanford in the last 8 weeks, trying to talk to the private sector about, hey, what can we do? I'm actually in Colorado Springs in 30 days. I'm going to spend a day out there working on a couple things.
That's wonderful. I like that idea of private-public partnership, collaboration, teamwork, and maybe with some of our allies. What are your thoughts on working with allies, Israel or some of the NATO allies?
Right. So I won't get into the particulars, but in fact, today, U.S. Cyber Command is hosting a deterrence workshop with one of our allies that you just mentioned. I'm not going to say which one. In addition, we're doing partnerships and capabilities development, probably with 5 or so key nations right now, foreign nations. In addition, we're also doing things at a much broader front, talking about cyber theory, cyber defense across the NATO alliance, and literally with nations around the world. It is one reason why I spend some time on the road, internationally.
Lastly, with the limited time I have, let me shift gears. Everyone knows the Guard and Reserve make a wonderful component of this effort. You can do cyber from anywhere, and we find Guard and Reserve all throughout the country. You can do it any time, and of course their schedules are 24/7 as well. Given the wealth of knowledge, experience, and certifications in the Guard and Reserve, would it be prudent to consider a streamlined accessions process to get these specialists onto the job quicker?
I don't intellectually disagree. The only comment I would make is, in my discussions with the Guard and the Reserve segment, when I've asked, so do you have issues that I can help with in terms of your ability to assess and bring into the force, into the Reserve and Guard components, the kind of skill sets and the people we need? Is that an issue for you? To date, the answer I've heard is no. Quite frankly, we have more people trying to get in than we really have space for in some ways. I have not heard the leadership come back to me and say, no, this is really something that's a major issue. I'm not trying to pretend it's not. I'm just trying to highlight it hasn't when I've asked bubble it to my level. Each service has taken a slightly different approach for how it integrates Guard and Reserves into the broader structure. Some services are looking at Guard and Reserve as a cadre to augment the active side. Other services are, if you look at Army, for example, they are doing wholesale investments in building cyber capacity in the Guard and Reserve over and above what the Cyber Mission Force needs. And Air Force is actually using Guard and Reserve as part of their Cyber Mission Force build.
Yeah, that's what General Hyten was telling us, some of us at the
Yes, sir.
Space Power Caucus the other morning. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I yield back.
And thank you very much,